This time last year, Ubisoft released Tom Clancy's The Division 2, which had our Division agents go to Washington DC and fight back resurgence. Now we're going back to where it all began in Warlords of New York. With the changes and developments from Tom Clancy's The Division 2 compared to The Division 1, what's it like going back to the city that started it all?
Aim for their fuel tanks.
In Warlords of New York, your Division agent is tasked with returning to Lower Manhattan and taking out a group of rogue Division agents. You're tasked with taking down Aaron Keener, who was the Division agent who betrayed the government he worked for and is now the leader of rogue Division agents.
One man! Alone!
Stop saying that!
Betrayed by the country he loves.
Oh my goodness, I'm in the car, okay? You're not alone!
When arriving in New York City, you'll be placed in the lower end of the financial district with Two Bridges, Battery Park, and so on. To take down Aaron, you'll need to find and eliminate his lieutenants, which and then will call Aaron out. Now, if you've played Ghost Recon Wildlands, this mechanic is very familiar. Each lieutenant is based within a district of Lower Manhattan, and you'll need to do 4 missions to track or call each lieutenant out. Now, each lieutenant will be a challenge in their own way, and upon defeating them, you'll be given a new ability. You'll be able to unlock a sticky bomb attachment for the chem launcher that will either explode when detonated or act as an incendiary charge. You'll also be able to find an electrical stun trap and a decoy ability. These abilities do come in handy, and it is cool being able to collect new upgrades from rogue Division agents, which is something I want to see continued should we get a Division 3. Returning back to New York City, well at least for us, is more welcoming than Washington DC. One of the problems we had with the Division 2 was that Washington DC is, well, a boring city.
Well, how was it, Cartman? Totally fucking stupid, dude. Oh, really? Yeah, dude, it's fucking boring as shit.
Whereas New York is the greatest city on the planet. As soon as Warlords of New York started up, the familiar environment of tall skyscrapers had me excited to further explore this once great city. You'll be going through subway stations and giant caves where industrial drills have blown holes in the ground, or a harbour that is filthy with bodies, garbage, and destroyed bridges. Seeing a landmark or a city that you've been to in real life but with nature taking over is beautiful. In the Division 1, the epidemic was based in the middle of winter and your character would run through snow, where this time it's set in the middle of summer. You'll see tall grass, overgrown parks, and even some buildings covered in vines. With destroyed underground tunnels, it's even affected the streets of New York, causing rain to pour, making some makeshift swamps. Combat is exactly the same as the Division 2, so if you need a reason to go back to New York or returning back to the Division 2, then this DLC is definitely for you. You will go up against bullet sponge enemies even if playing the story for the first time. Just like in previous Division games, you'll need to pop into cover, roll out of the way of grenades and flamethrowers, and the tight confined areas of New York City make that a challenge. Understandably, the Division 2 is not like Ghost Recon, Splinter Cell, or Rainbow Six Siege. Weapons are based on a leveling system, and with your time with Warlords of New York, you'll constantly be picking up new weapons and gear. It can get a little annoying popping a cleaner in the head and they're still running around with a little bit of health loss, but hey, that's how the Division 2 was created and we can't really knock it for that. The level cap has been raised from level 30 to level 40, and if you wanted to skip Washington DC and go straight to New York City, you definitely can. The DLC will automatically create a character for you if your original Division 2 character is not up to the required level. If you don't have a level 30 Division character or don't want to use a character the DLC has made for you, you will be able to make your own character too, so the option is there. The menus and store areas for clothing is the exact same as the Division 2, but you'll also be able to find clothing on the street, and the drop rate is a lot higher than what it was in Washington, but not as high as what it was in the original Division. But just like previous Division games, the story does take a little bit of a backseat. Yes, there are some high-res cutscenes, but most of the story is done through exposition and finding echoes in the environments. That's not to say there isn't a story there, but if you're a player that needs a good story to keep you hooked into a game, then you need to do a bit of digging and pay attention to every word in each cutscene.
In your mind, you assume it had to be a perfect storm for everything to go so.
If you enjoyed the location of the Division 1 and the gunplay from the Division 2, then Warlords of New York is a great reason to return. Seeing New York in summer and the sun shining through wrecked buildings and trees is stunning. The Division 2 Warlords of New York does feel a little bit like a World of Warcraft expansion, but a good one, not Warlords of Draenor. If you're a Division 2 fan and preferred New York City to Washington, then this DLC is perfect for you.